Hello and welcome to another planning appeal case study video. I'm John Peters, and in this video I'm going to explain how we overcame a recent refusal by Cheshire East Council for one of our clients. This planning appeal was to overcome the refusal of an outbuilding and associated works that was refused by the local authority Cheshire East Planning Department. Our client was initially booked in for a free no obligation consultation to run through the refusal reasons that had been used by Cheshire East Council and to evaluate if an appeal was viable or if an alternative option would be best suited for them. The free no obligation consultation, which took around about 20 minutes, found that this case was viable to appeal to the Planning Inspectorate, taking the decision process away from Cheshire East Planning Department. This case was refused by Cheshire East Council for the following reasons. The proposal would not preserve or enhance the character or appearance of the Mowbray Conservation Area, and it would appear as an incongruous feature in a prominent position adjacent to the highway. Insufficient information has been submitted to demonstrate that there would be no adverse impact on a protected lime tree in the absence of this information. This two-part refusal needed an appeal that covered the subjective refusal of the first part and a new tree report to be covered in the second part. The Planning Inspector in this case identified the main reasons for this case were the effect of the proposal on A, the character and appearance of the conservation area, and B, the protected lime tree. The inspector stated the following in the appeal decision. Tarkin is a detached dwelling house on the south side of Hall Lane, set apart from the ribbon of housing along much of the road that edges this part of Hall Lane and are marked by dense hedgerows and trees, a mix of evergreen and deciduous types, sometimes behind timber fences of varying heights and styles, with occasional gaps through which fields or buildings can be seen. It reflects the character of the wider conservation area as described in the conservation area appraisal. It is not a prevalent feature of the conservation area for outbuildings to be sited in front of buildings, but neither is it entirely unheard of. My attention was drawn, for example, to several dwelling houses on the eastern part of Hall Lane which have detached garages in their front gardens, while woodlands have a stable block close to the front boundary. While this last example has a different form to the proposed here, it is not obvious from the public highway, while some very slight glimpses of the stable were possible through the boundary hedgerow. At the time of my visit, it did not stand out as disruptive or intrusive influence in the street scene. The proposed outbuilding would be similar in the area and height than these other examples, and while it would be domestic in appearance, this would not itself make it incongruous in a location where dwelling houses are a common feature, albeit within the rural or semi-rural setting. While the council described Tarkin as being a prominent position in a bend on a main route through the conservation area, I saw that the considerable amounts of screening which the hedgerow and tree borders provide mean that the views along Hall Lane in either direction and proposed outbuilding would barely be noticeable. Its position towards the corner of the plot would mean that it would not intrude into the principal view of the property immediately from the front or its entrance driveway. I accept that the presence of any individual tree or hedgerow plant cannot be guaranteed in perpetuity, but combined modest scale of the proposed outbuilding, its suitable form and materials, and the extent of hedgerow failure which would be required for it to become so visible as to become a prominent feature of the locality, mean that the development would not be harmful to the character or appearance of the area. Taking all of this into together, I'm satisfied that the character and appearance of the conservation area would be preserved. The proposed building would be close to the partly within the root protection area of the lime tree, which stands aside the side of the boundary land associated with the property. The planning application was accompanied with an out-of-date arboricultural report prepared for an earlier scheme, and the council therefore expressed concern that there was insufficient detail before it so it could be satisfied that the development would not be detrimental to the health of that tree. A revised arboricultural report relating to this scheme was submitted during the appeal. This proposed the use of mini screw piles and a concrete raft foundation for the outbuilding, with no significant excavation inside the root protection area of the lime tree. Compliance with the methods proposed in the report can be secured by condition and would protect the roots of the lime tree. Many of you who have similar refusals are repeatedly stating that you've had little or no correspondence throughout the application process, and the first thing you knew was receiving the refusal notice from the council, and in some cases when you received a letter from ourselves. We completely understand that the planning process can be frustrating, the costs involved, the time it takes and so on, but do remember we deal with this on a daily basis for others just like yourself. With planning appeals, experience matters. Our specialist team, who handles over 2.5% of all planning appeals in England and Wales that are currently produced and submitted, start by producing a comprehensive and robust appeal statement that is specific to the case. And in this case, it covered 32 pages and just over 5,500 words. It's important to detail in the appeal statement where the local authority failed in their assessment of the case and how, where possible, both local and national policy applies in favour of the appeal. Additionally, if possible, bringing in similar cases that the Planning Inspectorate found favour of at appeal. Obviously, with the back catalogue we have of wins, we're able to use these cases and what the inspector said in them as additional argument to support the case that we're working on. Once an appeal statement is completed, we send the documents to our client, asking them to check that they are happy for us to submit the case. If we need to do any additional information adding at that time, we would, because they've forgotten to provide it, we'll do it then. And then the case is then submitted to the Planning Inspectorate. It's vitally important that all documents and responses are submitted on time throughout the process, as failure to do so will result in the appeal not being successful, something we hear about often when people attempt an appeal for the first time. Always ensure you use a professional who has considerable experience of appeals. It is worth asking them for some recent successful planning appeal case studies like you find on our website. Due to the large number of cases we represent, we have a dedicated team that liaises with the Planning Inspector on a daily basis. For this appeal, an independent planning inspector from the Planning Inspectorate visited the site on the 10th of December, and we are pleased to confirm that the appeal was upheld and the permission granted on the 24th of December in a 4-page appeal decision notice. If you'd like to find out if we can help you with your planning appeal, complete our online form on our website www.planningappealsuk.com, and our new case support team will arrange for a free, no obligation consultation with one of our planning appeal assessment professionals. Thank you for taking the time to watch this planning appeal case study video, and I look forward to producing another one very shortly. Bye for now.